Hello and welcome. My name is Brennan,
My name is Liam.
and this is Dodge the Norm. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dodge the Norm. Today, our guest, the man, the myth, the legend, Shane Krauser. Shane, could you take a minute to introduce yourself?
Well, first, thanks so much for having me. It's an absolute delight. So, my name is Shane Krauser. I live in Gilbert, Arizona, married for 31 years. We have 6 kids, 1 grandchild. And we've just enjoyed the journey. Life has been a great journey with ups and downs and opportunities to learn and grow. I went to school at Arizona State University. I did my undergraduate work there. I eventually went to law school at the University of Utah, graduated there, and came right back to Arizona. I was a prosecutor with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office for 12 years. I then left that and became a criminal defense attorney. And so I practiced altogether 14 years, and then I walked away and took the entrepreneurship route. And so that's where we're here, 10 years into entrepreneurship, and it's been an incredible journey.
It's awesome.
What inspired you to become an entrepreneur? Was there a specific moment or influence?
You know, I'm a first-generation American. My mom immigrated here from Switzerland, and they came here because they saw opportunity. They saw something unique. You know, she came here in 1949, and that was ingrained in me as a young child. Sitting around the dinner table, having intense discussions about opportunity. You know, we only get one shot at life. It's only one lap around the track. And my parents instilled in me this idea of finding what you're passionate about, what makes you tick, and chase that thing. And so I've spent most of my life trying to stay true to that very idea. So my greatest inspiration, my heroes are my parents, for the sacrifice that they made, the hard work that they engaged in, and the results that they got along the way. And so my parents were very much people that inspired me, but there's been others along the way, other entrepreneurs, great friends and relationships that I've been able to develop that have inspired me as well.
When you were just starting out, did you have any mentors?
Yes, and I still do. I think this is key. Anybody who wants to experience great success and wants to especially take the entrepreneurship route, mentorship is key. You know, I've had a mentor who is actually 10 years younger than me, and he's been my mentor for going on 11 years now. And so what for me was very important was finding an individual that has the results that you want and getting around them and copying what they do. Right? That's key. It doesn't matter whether it's financially, relationally, spiritually. Those results that you want, find individuals that have those results and begin to mentor with them. So I mentor with the individual that has just been phenomenal for me on a weekly, monthly basis, talking about where we're at in terms of goals. What are some of the Goliaths that we're dealing with, some of the struggles? How can we overcome those things in order to continue to move or take the journey to become successful in whatever area we're focused on? So yes, mentorship is incredibly important.
Was there a turning point where you knew you had to start your business?
Yeah, it was about 4 years into my journey as an attorney. I was working for the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. I just transitioned into the gang homicide unit and was sitting down with an attorney by the name of Bill. He had been there for 40 years. So here I am in my early 30s. He's 70 years old. And he said, "Shane, what's the end game?" Now, this was a big deal for me. Like, I get emotional thinking about it because this was a real turning point in my life. And I said, well, here's the things I want to experience. I want to take my kids out of school and I want to educate them on the streets of the world. I said I want to be involved in advancing the movement of freedom. I don't want to just show up at the ballot box every couple of years and vote. I want to be involved all in terms of bringing about the very experiment that our founders established and ensure that torch is passed on to the next generation. I wanted to create incredible memories with my family. I wanted to donate time and money to charity. I wanted to be involved in my church. Tuesday afternoon at 2 o'clock, hey, I'm needed. I'm a disciple all in all the time. So I'm sharing these ideas with this attorney, and he became very emotional. And he said, Shane, if that's your dream, if that's the life you want to live, you'll never find it here. And so I knew at that point that I hadn't arrived, that I was going to continue to look to figure out how I could experience that lifestyle. So I knew this in my early 30s that I had to figure out the entrepreneurship route. Here I was trading time for money as an attorney, and 10 years later, things started to click. They started to come together, and I would jump in and move from working a job to becoming an entrepreneur. So yeah, that was my big turning point. Meeting with this attorney, having him look me in the eye and say, this is not where you're going to live that kind of life. And so started to look and adopted some things along the way and made some changes. And when I saw opportunity, I ran with it.
You said you were in a steady paying job. Was it difficult to leave that to then go into like an entrepreneurship?
You know, that's a great question. That is really the struggle for many people diving into entrepreneurship, because as an entrepreneur, you're your own boss, right? You're making your schedule. You're the person that's driving opportunity that can bring something of value that people will pay you for. So it is quite a jump when you say, hey, I've got a steady paying job, a job that pays well, a job that allows me to support my wife and my kids and give them the opportunities that they're looking for, and then make that jump. I believe it takes some courage. It takes vision. It takes consistency, understanding that there are going to be ebbs and flows along the way, but focusing on consistency through the journey. Hey, I'm going to win here. I'm going to learn here. Let's just stay consistent through the process.
Has it been hard for you to take risks in your life?
You know, early on, I would say that there was some real struggle because it was new, right? I'd spent my entire adult life up until I was 43 years old working for someone else. And then I jump into entrepreneurship. It was scary at times early on. And then you kind of learn, like, listen, we're going to get through this. We have a saying that we use with me and my wife and many of our business partners. We call it plan, do, check, and adjust, PDCA. And so it's a constant process of, okay, here was our plan. Here's how we executed the plan. Some of the things worked out great. Others didn't go as planned, so let's adjust along the way. So even though it was initially a little scary, we became very good at doing this process of plan, do, check, and adjust, and making those adjustments that were necessary to make sure that we succeeded in whatever thing we were focused on.
You said like you had to adjust. In which ways do you think you had to adjust the most?
Yeah, so emotionally. So when you have a steady paying job, you know I'm going to work for 2 weeks and I'm going to get paid. I got a paycheck coming. Being an entrepreneur is really having, in part, control of your emotions. Because it can be scary, like, hey, we didn't do so hot this month, right? We don't have the steady paycheck coming in this month. And staying emotionally grounded, because it's easy to give up. Heck, I'm going to go back and start working a job again because there's a guarantee there. But you always keep in mind, for me, how I kept my emotions in check was always keeping my eye on the vision. See, there's this process of entrepreneurship where you zoom out and then you spend time zooming in. Zooming out is, hey, here's my vision. Here's where I'm going. Here's the incredible lifestyle I want to experience. I got to zoom out to make sure that I stay focused on where I'm going. But then I zoom in to focus on the details. The small details that are going to take me step by step to arrive at that destination. You know, that was a goal for us.
So earlier you mentioned you went to college. Do you think that it helped you in the long run?
Yeah, so for my career field it did.
Yeah.
I wanted to become a lawyer, and that's a specialized field, so it was necessary to go to school. But I don't think that college is necessary for everyone. I think college is very expensive, and I don't think going to college to experiment to figure out what you want to do is necessarily the greatest use of our resources. So if you're going to become specialized, an attorney, a doctor, a dentist, an engineer, you've got to go to school to learn how to do those things. But if you're going to go and learn how to, okay, well, I'm hoping college is going to, no, there's better ways to figure out what it is that you want to do. So, yep, I did go to college, and I'm incredibly thankful for the opportunity. It allowed me to experience and learn some things that have helped me even to this day. So, again, I'm grateful for that. But again, if someone were to come to me and say, hey, I'm thinking about going to college, I would ask, well, what's the end game look like? Because if there's a better way and a more efficient way to get to that end game outside of college, I likely would encourage that, because college has become so darn expensive, right? I came out of my undergraduate career, as did almost all of my friends, with no debt. Today, almost impossible. I came out of law school with a little bit of debt, but nothing like what many experience today. So again, it's not going with the flow. Hey, everybody's going to college. Well, yeah, but a lot of people are falling off of a cliff. A lot of people are stuck in a rut. So that's not always the best route.
What are your thoughts on universities merely being an echo chamber of liberalism, and is a university degree absolutely necessary to be successful in today's world?
So number one, I'll address your second question first. A university degree isn't necessary to experience massive success. Some of the most successful people I know barely graduated from high school, right? So it's not necessary to have a college degree. Again, if you're specializing, that's one thing. But man, we live in America. There's so many great opportunities where a university degree isn't necessary. But to your first point, you were asking about an echo chamber. That's one of my big concerns. I taught at the collegiate level for almost 15 years. And aside from that, going to college myself, I experienced some of these things. And I'm concerned that our colleges are no longer an opportunity to engage in the marketplace of ideas, and instead it's a place that people are going to learn how to think a certain way. I don't like that, right? Really should be a laboratory for learning and a laboratory for vigorous exchange. And as we vigorously exchange those ideas, we learn to respect one another in that process. I don't feel like there's a whole lot of that going on in our university system today. And that's concerning.
So we have been taking some of Shane's courses on Constitution and public speaking and debating. Shane, why are you so passionate about the Constitution?
One thing, you study history and you start to realize that you're involved in something incredibly unique. The fact that we were born in America, we won the lottery. We absolutely won the lottery. Very few people have experienced the kind of freedom that we experience. I look throughout human history for thousands of years. Less than 0.1% have ever experienced the kind of freedom that we have the opportunity to enjoy. And so for me, it was number one, understanding history. It was the family that I grew up in. And then just all the study and seeing, man, these founding fathers did something unique. Individuals that sacrificed. And just understanding that we have a really interesting experiment that we're in the midst of, where government is to play a certain role, and individuals should be able to do whatever it is that they'd like to do, so long as they don't infringe on others' life, liberty, or property. Leave people alone. And I like that we have an experiment in America that's grounded on that very ideal.
What are a few words of wisdom or hopes you have for the youth of America?
Stay focused, stay consistent, and shut off the outside noise. Consider this concept. A dog that's in the hunt doesn't know he has fleas. Think about that for a moment.
Yeah.
A dog that's in the hunt doesn't know he has fleas. And I think that's a big part of success. And that's one piece of advice I'd give. Listen, you're going to take a journey and you're going to have big goals and dreams, but it's awfully difficult to get distracted on things that are happening to you and around you. And then suddenly we take our eyes off the big vision that we have and we start to focus on the little things. No, a dog that's in the hunt, an entrepreneur is in the hunt. He's staying focused and he's not taken off track by the little things that come his way. And I think that's the biggest piece of advice. I watch so many young people that have great goals, big dreams, and then they move into their 20s and 30s and they give up on those things. That's sad. Why was that? Well, they were focusing on the ticks, right? Yeah. They forgot about the hunt that drove them at an early age. And so, I look at my own generation. Most people aren't living the life they really want to live. They're just coasting. And that leads me to deathbed regrets. That was one thing that motivated me at a very young age. My parents subscribed to Reader's Digest, and I'll never forget reading the top 10 deathbed regrets. And number one was, I wish I had been true to my purpose. And I think that's something figure out things that you enjoy doing, things that make you tick, and stay focused on those things and develop and grow in the journey.
Was there a moment when you realized you had the power to move an audience?
That's a really good question. I think as I grew into my early 20s and started to realize that this is a talent I wanted to develop, I think the first event I can remember, I was 21 years old and I was doing an event that was held at a church house. And I was just speaking from the gut on motivation and inspiration, the things I felt inside. And I saw individuals moved. It was a relatively small group of people. And I saw individuals moved. And then I remember my dad. My dad was a speech communications professor. And so I had that opportunity. And then I remember another opportunity that was very close in time. I was 21, 22 years old. And we're out on the carport of our home in Mesa. And he just said some things to me. He's like, it's something to the effect of, you are made to do great things. And you're incredibly talented. Having your father tell you that, right, instill that belief in you. And so I took those first opportunities I had as a young man speaking, along with words from my father. And I said, man, maybe I could do great things. And that was the beginning of a journey of, well over 30 years of public speaking. That has been really enjoyable and moving crowds and inspiring people. It's been incredible.
That's really cool.
When you were younger, was it hard to speak in front of big crowds?
Yeah, younger, you're developing a talent. Most people aren't born out of they're not coming out of the womb saying, hey, I want to be in front of a lot of people. It's a journey, right? And you're learning to get comfortable. You're learning that you have something of value that people want. That was the key. Once I recognized that I brought something of value that people in a crowd were interested in, and they felt empowered by listening that information, and they came away feeling that they were better people as they left than they were coming in. When you start to recognize some of those things, man, that's when it really starts to get exciting. And for me, that was where I think I really started to develop when I saw that, man, I do have the power to move people and make them better human beings in the process.
That's really cool. Do you think public speaking and like just speaking like that, do you think it's like really important, like as a business owner, to develop?
Yeah, I think being able to communicate is a critical talent. Listen, you can be a business owner, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be great at speaking in front of 10,000 people. But as a business owner, you have to be able to communicate ideas right around a table, one-on-one with an individual that you might be wanting to do business with. You've got to be able to communicate clearly and effectively in order to persuade people that you have something of value and to build teams of individuals that want to help you move your idea forward. So being able to communicate is important on a number of different fronts, building teams, but then promoting your idea to the community.
Who are your role models as speakers or communicators?
So parents, number one. My mom and dad were incredible human beings. As I mentioned earlier, my dad was a college professor. My mom went to law school, and she was a phenomenal entrepreneur in her own right. So my parents, and then my children. My children are phenomenal examples for me. They inspire me to continue to push myself to do great things. And then I have other individuals, founding fathers. The founding fathers, all that they sacrificed and all that they gave, they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. And I want to live a life that way. I don't know that I know exactly what it means to pledge your life, your fortune, your sacred honor the same way that they did. But I want to live a life that is fulfilling. I want to live a life that when I arrive on the other side, if you will, is like, man, I live life to its fullest. I live life full throttle. And so those are just a few of my heroes. I have many of them, but family is the center of the individuals that I see as my heroes, and then the founding generation.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to leave a like
And subscribe.
and we'll see you next time on
Dodge the Norm.